I'm Meredith with XT, and in this video I'll be breaking down the differences between the different types of options for front and rear bumpers for your Jeep Wrangler. When it comes to your Wrangler, you definitely want to keep it protected, and bumpers are a really easy way to gain some extra front and rear end protection while also adding some utility as well as some extra style. So front and rear bumpers go hand in hand, and with one usually comes the other. It's very easy to get lost with all of the different types of front bumpers and rear bumpers that are out there. They come in different styles, lengths, and they also have some very specific benefits. So in this video, I picked out 4 front bumper options and 5 rear bumper options that represent a specific style and show you the differences between coverage, utility, and even how they can help out your performance, whether you're out on the trail or just keeping it to the street. I'm using the JL behind me to show you the bumpers that I picked, but all of these bumpers in each of these different styles will also be available for other gens, including YJ, TJ, and even JK, so you can find them right here on our site. Since front bumpers usually are the first pick between the two, I'll be covering those first and then jumping into rear bumpers in just a little bit. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this, as well as our detailed product install videos. But enough from me, let's jump into the video. Our first bumper that we're going to take a look at is going to be for that Jeep owner who's concerned about their off-road performance while also wanting a very aggressive look to make their Jeep stand out. Stubby front bumpers, and even this one in particular, will usually be the width of the grille. So with this, you're getting that protection against any smaller head-on obstacles in your front grille area, especially with this Stinger, than other options that may cover some or all of the front tires. Even though it does have its drawback on protection to the front tires and even the front of the fenders, this will maximize your performance on the trail. With all of this open room on the side, there's nothing to stand in the way of larger wheels and tires, especially when you're articulating off-road. Not to mention, your approach angles are going to be increased as well, and that's the amount of angle that you have when you're approaching an incline like a hill or an obstacle while you're out on the trail. This particular bumper that I have on our Jeep is the Red Rock 4x4 stubby front bumper with the Stinger and the winch mount. And on the topic of performance, this will include features that will help you out on the trail and provide some extra utility. These are going to include the winch mount, the D-rings, and even this large Stinger on the front. Now, what I particularly like about this option is the winch mount and how it's partially recessed. And this is a feature that will vary from different styles of bumpers, but can be considered as a subcategory within bumpers and their features. This will provide some protection to the winch while also opening up some airflow to your grille in comparison to some other options that are top mounted options. It's not going to be completely out of the way, but it will go a long way as far as airflow is concerned while still being pretty accessible. The Stinger is also going to be more or less a subcategory in itself. This will be one of those love it or hate it mods, but for those people that do love it, this will provide a lot of outward protection to your grille area for larger obstacles in front of your Wrangler. Not to mention, Stinger bars are actually designed to prevent your Wrangler from tipping forward when descending off of obstacles, so even though it is going to give you a very aggressive look to the front end of your Jeep, it's not going to just be there for show. This next option is for the Wrangler owner who essentially wants the opposite of the last one that we just saw. This is for somebody who's looking for full front end protection and really isn't concerned about that extra trail performance with all that room on the side like the stubby front bumper offered. This style will more or less be the factory length with a heavy duty construction, so this will be a full width front bumper that's going to provide full front end protection, especially to the front end of your tires and your fenders from any head-on collision or even just any branches or brush while you're out on the trail. The bumper that we have mounted up to the front of our JL is the ARB Classic Deluxe Front Bumper. Again, with these styles of bumpers, you usually will be getting all of those standard features that come with an aftermarket or a heavy-duty front bumper, but since these usually will have a lot more space and room to work with on the front of the bumper, you'll see some extra features in comparison to some of the other smaller options like the stubby front bumper that we just took a look at. Not to mention, because of those extra features, modification may be required, unlike some other bolt-on front bumpers, but that's not always the case. This front bumper in particular is a good example of that, considering that this comes with recovery points, the option to swap over your factory fog lights or even add an aftermarket fog light, and multiple mounting points for accessories and or auxiliary lighting, and even jacking points. Like I mentioned before, there's also those subcategories when it comes to different features like grille protection and winch plates. This front bumper in particular will come with a standard bull bar, which is going to do a really good job at providing a lot of protection to the grille area, but it won't be as aggressive as the Stinger that we last saw, and is going to be a lot more common for protection when it comes to protecting the grille. Not to mention, because of the rounded design, these will usually have extra mounting tabs to add accessory lighting on top, which is the case with our ARB front bumper, and it's going to provide a really good spot considering that they're front and center. When looking at the winch plate, this is a fully recessed option, which I personally really like. Unlike the partially recessed option that we saw in the stubby front bumper, this will give us full protection to the winch since it's not sticking out over the top of the bumper, and it's going to provide full airflow to your AC condenser as well as your radiator. Now, the two big things to consider when it comes to a full width front bumper is that you're not getting as much room on the sides for extra performance, meaning that your approach angles will not be as good considering you do have large ends on either side, and larger tires won't have a whole lot of room for extra articulation, and it may limit your tire size if you're looking for articulation. Also, because this is a lot larger, these are usually going to be a little bit heavier than some of the other smaller options, which may give a small sag to the front end of your Wrangler, especially if you have a factory suspension. Now, that comes down to the design of the front bumper, but that's definitely something that you want to keep in mind. If you're a fan of some of the benefits from both of those previous styles, then a mid-width front bumper is going to be right up your alley. This is perfect for somebody who's looking for some decent protection to the front end while incorporating some benefits from both a stubby front bumper as well as a full-width front bumper. This type of bumper is usually going to cover the whole grille area and then some on the sides, giving your tires and your fender some head-on protection. Usually with these style bumpers, the construction on the ends will be angled up, which will increase your approach angle and your clearance for the trail, even though they are a bit longer than a stubby front bumper. The one that we have on our Wrangler as an example of this style is the Barricade Trail Force HD front bumper with LED lights. So as you can tell on the sides, these will come out a little bit farther than the grille, but when you're approaching obstacles while you're out on the trail, the ends will be angled up enough to stay out of the way. This particular bumper will be similar to the full length option where we had more surface area and room on the face of the bumper for extra accessories, including LED lights. These aren't going to be on every mid-width front bumper. However, because of that extra room, they're usually going to be more options when it comes to accessory mounting, additional lighting, or even just swapping over those factory fog lights, as well as recovery points. This front bumper will also incorporate a bull bar similar to the last, however, it's not going to tuck into the grille as tight as the ARB front bumper bull bar did. It comes out a little bit further, similar to the angle of a Stinger, and this is going to give you some outward protection as well as some aggressiveness of that Stinger, but it's going to provide you some more mild styling while still doing a really good job at providing protection to that grille area. When it comes to the winch on this particular bumper, there is a top mounted winch plate, and many of these mid-width style options will have the same. That's going to make it very easy to handle and very easy to maintenance your winch since it is very easily accessible. However, this will block some of that grille area when it comes to airflow, and it's going to be a little bit more exposed in comparison to our other options. There are mid-width front bumpers, however, that will have different style winch plates, but winch plate placement is something to keep in mind when you're shopping around for a front bumper. Our last front bumper that we'll be taking a look at is going to be a bit of a throwback. This style is going to be for somebody who's looking to add some retro styling to the front end of their Wrangler, while also incorporating some benefits that we've seen from that full width design. This style will do a really good job at covering the front end of the Wrangler, just like our full width option, and the length is going to be roughly the same for really any tubular front bumper that you'll come across. This style will do a good job at protecting the front grille area as well as the front of the tires, but unlike our full width HD front bumper that we took a look at, this will be a lot lighter weight. The one in particular that I have mounted up is the Red Rock 4x4 tubular front bumper. This one particularly will be made out of a stainless steel material, making sure that the front end isn't heavy or sagging, but on the contrary, it won't be as heavy duty as steel plating material would, making for some lighter protection from any brush or smaller obstacles while you're out on the trail. Not to say that this won't save your front end in the event of a hit better than your stock front bumper would, but if this does take a harder hit, the material is a little bit softer than steel plating and will tend to bend a little bit easier. Nonetheless, this will provide really good coverage as well as grille protection. This This Red Rock front bumper will integrate a bull bar just like the other ones that we've previously seen, and most of the tubular front bumpers that you'll come across will. Now when it comes to accessories and utility though, this is where you really see the simplicity in a tubular front bumper. Some may vary when it comes to a cutout for a winch plate or not, but compared to most heavy-duty steel bumpers, these will usually not come with any recovery points, additional lighting, or even the option to swap over your factory fog lights. This one in particular will have mounting tabs in the middle on the bumper for accessory lighting, making sure that you do have that option for some extra visibility out of the front end of your Wrangler. What I do, however, like about this style is the fact that it keeps it simple for someone who's not really looking for a ton of utility out of the front end of their Jeep, but they're looking for that retro styling and some more heavy-duty materials than their stock bumper. Not to mention, there are many solutions for adding accessories and lighting, considering tubular mounting brackets are very easily accessible and very inexpensive, especially here on our site. So now that we've checked out the main styles of front bumpers, we can head to the rear and check out those main styles of rear bumpers. The first style that we're going to go over is a perfect representation of a heavy-duty aftermarket rear bumper designed for utility and protection. This style will usually be boxier and larger than some other styles, making this the perfect candidate when it comes to full rear end coverage from any collisions or obstacles while you're out on the trail. They will hold up a lot better as well, commonly made of steel plating material, which is extremely durable and able to take a hit when it needs to. These bumpers will also usually provide the standard benefits when it comes to utility, like recovery points, as well as a hitch or even just a cutout for one, perfect for the Jeep owner who's looking for functionality. Not to mention, because of the large HD steel design, the bumper provides a lot of off-road styling and will match very well with other HD accessories. The one that I have mounted up is the Barricade Extreme HD rear bumper. This specific bumper will fit into that style with a large and boxy design, providing a lot of coverage to the back end, as well as wrapping around the sides. The Barricade bumper will also highlight standard features with the 2 welded D-ring mounts on the back, a 2-inch hitch receiver, and a cutout for a larger wheel and tire. That cutout for the larger wheel and tire on the back is very common with these kinds of bumpers, which will add to its utility. In addition, the specific bumper will come with the option to mount up a spare tire carrier for a heavier wheel and tire. Under the back plating on either side, there will be mounting locations perfect for the Jeep owners who are looking to build off of their rear bumper itself. A lot of rear bumpers in this style will have that option, so I would keep that in mind when shopping around. Again, this style will focus on that tough protection and that handy utility. However, I would like to mention, because this is a larger of a design than other styles, this won't be your friendliest style of rear bumper when it comes to increasing the departure angles on your Wrangler. This next style of bumper will give you a one-up from the last when it comes to departure angles and better performance. Just like the last one, this will provide full wraparound coverage. However, this style will usually be a little bit more compact and even angle up on the sides to stay out of the way of obstacles on the trail. Other similar features include the steel-plated construction for heavy-duty protection for the rear, as well as extra utility features. However, this is more for the Jeep owner who's looking for a lot of clearance in the back for the trail. Departure angles are very important when it comes to off-roading, and it's the angle or the room that you have in the rear when descending off of an obstacle. This particular option is the DV8 off-road full-length rear bumper with LED lights. It will carry over that thick steel plate construction, but like I said, this will be very compact and have high angled up ends on either side to accommodate for that extra clearance. It has welded D-ring mounts for recovery and even a cutout for the factory hitch. Not only will this particular bumper have the standard utility benefits you would want out of a rear bumper, it also has additional accessories to make it just that much more functional. Functionality will vary from bumper to bumper, but a lot of rear bumpers designed for higher trail performance will have those extra add-ons like the LED lighting integrated into the back for some extra visibility. These can be used as reverse lights or even just as work lights. Not to mention, the jacking points on the bottom of the bumper will add some extra functionality if you get yourself into a predicament while you're out on the trail. Like I mentioned, these features are not incorporated into every high clearance rear bumper, but they are features that you definitely want to keep in mind when shopping around. Again, the big story with this rear bumper is that it's going to be a step up in clearance, helping you out with your performance while you're off-roading. This next type of style incorporates a heavy-duty spare tire carrier. This kind of setup is perfect for the Wrangler owner who wants to get everything out of the way when it comes to functionality on the back of their Jeep. This will provide a lot of the benefits that come with the first two choices, but have the plus of that spare tire carrier. The bumper is a very solid mounting point considering it's mounted up to the frame, which makes it the perfect location to put all of that extra weight from an oversized tire. When you're upgrading your tires and the tire size on your Wrangler, spare storage is something that you want to keep in mind. The factory carrier can only hold so much weight before the carrier and the tailgate starts to get worn out from that added stress, especially when you're bouncing around on the trail. A setup like this one will be a 2-in-1 solution for a rear bumper and supporting an oversized tire. The bumper that we have here is the WJ2 rear bumper with tire carrier. This will be made of a steel plating material which will support the tire carrier but also providing a lot of good coverage and protection to the rear end of your Wrangler. That will carry over for most of the bumpers of this style. This style will also usually incorporate some added utility as well, just like the other options that we saw. This one specifically will have D-ring mounts, jack points, and a hitch cutout, but with that tire carrier, there's additional mounting points for extra accessories considering all of that extra space. This isn't always the case for rear bumpers with tire carriers, but it's very common because of that larger steel construction. This next style that we'll be taking a look at is for those Wrangler owners looking for a bit of a throwback. This tubular styling will give you a classic look to your Wrangler, and it's also going to be pretty affordable in the process because of its simplicity. This style will usually provide a decent amount of coverage around the back and the sides, which will do a good job at protecting the rear end of the Wrangler. This particular bumper that we have mounted up is the Red Rock 4x4 tubular rear bumper with wraparound ends, and it's going to do just that by providing a lot of good coverage and also some pretty complete styling. Tubular bumpers are going to be a bit lighter weight considering the lack of heavy-duty steel plate material, saving you some weight in the rear end. This specific option will be made out of 3-inch steel tubing, which is very common with tubular bumpers. Because it's made of lighter weight steel, this is more for light protection from any lighter obstacles and brush on the trail rather than any hard hits. Now, not to say this won't save the Jeep's rear end, but this will be designed for more of lighter protection. Now, when it comes to accessories and utilities though, this is really where you see the simplicity in a tubular bumper design. Compared to most heavy-duty steel bumpers, these will usually not come with any recovery points, additional lighting, or the option to add a spare tire carrier. However, there are very easy solutions for all of those drawbacks. For example, this specific option will accommodate for a factory or even an aftermarket hitch, doubling as a recovery point. There are also many solutions for adding accessories and lighting, considering tubular mounting brackets are very easily accessible, especially right here on our site, and they're usually pretty inexpensive. Not to mention, there are other spare tire solutions that stick just to the tailgate instead of integrating into the rear bumper design. Like I said before, the big focal point here is the simplicity and the classic look with the added protection while also staying relatively inexpensive. Our next style will be sticking with that tubular design, but also integrating some performance into the mix. Instead of the classic straight wraparound option, this style will incorporate some high angles and focus more on trail clearance. Our first bumper focused more on protection, as to where our second focused on clearance, and the same is going to go for the two tubular style bumpers that we have here. This will still do a good job of providing a lot of coverage to the back end while also incorporating a lighter weight design with the tubular construction. Where it differs though is with the angles of the bumper and the clearance that this is going to allow. The particular bumper that we have mounted up is the Red Rock 4x4 Rock Crawler rear bumper. As you can see on each corner, it has a hard upward angle and the bottom tube will be angled in. That design will increase your departure angles while you're out on the trail while giving you the protection that you need if you do end up scraping off of an obstacle. Not to mention, instead of the retro and more classic styling, you're getting an out-of-the-box design, adding some off-road aggressiveness and some style to the back end of your Wrangler. This particular bumper will have a very similar construction to the last, however it will be a little bit smaller at around 2 inches. That will make for a lighter weight bumper, minimizing any rear end sag. As far as accessories go, this will be pretty bare bones when it comes to utility. However, unlike the classic tubular rear bumper that we saw, this bumper will have a standard 2-inch hitch receiver in the back, which can be used as a recovery point. Now, this isn't true to every performance-driven tubular rear bumper, but considering that it's a step up from our classic tubular style, it's definitely a bonus. When it comes to any lighting or accessories, it will be pretty much the same story. The solutions are nearly endless with universal mounts. However, because of the simplicity in the design, mounting points usually don't come as a standard feature. Again, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, choosing bumpers, front or rear, can get a little bit confusing when it comes to all the different styles and types that are out there. Hopefully this breakdown made it a little bit easier to narrow down which bumpers are best for you and your Wrangler. Make sure you comment down below on which bumpers that you think are best and which ones that you would add to your Jeep, and always keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.